the amendment of the Electoral Act. And for that reason, we have had an emergency session today. And we want to clearly register our position and particularly Section 60, which has to do with electronic transmission. Our position is that elections shall and should be transmitted electronically. Yes. We are against any clause that will give room for any manipulation or rigging or leeway for any untoward act. So we have asked that that clause should be made solely for electronic transmission without any provision. Aside that, we have also proposed that where there is a conflict between the from ECHA, which is manual and capable of being manipulated, and the electronically transmitted result, that the electronically transmitted result should basically over the manual. These positions were turned down, and we are aware that they were turned down by members of the APC, not on grounds of patriotism, but on grounds of political party affiliation. So, for us, after the plenary or whatever that has happened on the floor, we felt it important to register our position with Nigerians, which is the first opinion. So we had to leave the plenary to have to walk out of the plenary to address you. Again, there is also section 84, which has to do with the primary elections. Our position remains that method of selection of candidates should be an internal party. And the political parties will be allowed to determine what method they want to adopt in selecting candidates that will represent them, not to be cocooned to either direct primary and so these are issues that we feel that Nigerians should take up from here. As your representative, we have made our position known to support that parties should be allowed to adopt the method best suited for them to choose their candidates, direct primary, indirect primary, or Thank you.
Well, let's continue as I explain to you how it all started. It started fast. No warning. No soft talk. Just tension rising inside the House of Representatives. Then it happened. Members of the opposition stood up and walked out. Not one. Not two. Many of them. At the same time. Silence turned into noise. Order turned into confusion. And then came the message that changed everything. Our position is that transmission should only involve electronic transmission, not a combination of electronic and manual transmission of election results. That line was not just a statement. It was a warning. A signal that something deeper is going on inside Nigeria's political space. Because this is not just about technology. This is about trust. Tension erupted at the House of Representatives today as lawmakers debated the Electoral Act Bill amid protests at the NASS. A disputed ruling in favor of the ayes despite nay votes sparked outrage on the floor. Voices rose. Tempers flared. Lawmakers shouted across the chamber as the session struggled to stay under control. What was meant to be a normal legislative process quickly turned into a heated confrontation. And at the center of it all was one issue: how election results should be transmitted in Nigeria. The opposition believes that once you mix electronic and manual results, you open the door for manipulation. They insist that Nigeria must move forward, not backward. They argue that technology, when used properly, can reduce human interference and build public confidence. But inside the chamber, not everyone agrees. Some lawmakers pushed back strongly. They argued that relying only on electronic transmission may be risky due to network challenges and technical failures in some parts of the country. They said a combination system provides balance, a backup, a safety net. But that argument did not calm the tension. Instead, it made things worse. Because for the opposition, this is not just about backup. It is about opportunity for interference. And they made that clear. As the debate intensified, emotions spilled over. Lawmakers spoke over each other. Some refused to sit. Others demanded that the process be stopped. Then came the moment that changed the tone completely. A voice vote was taken. And despite loud nay responses, the ruling went in favor of their ayes. That decision did not sit well with many lawmakers. In fact, it triggered outrage. Some members immediately rejected the outcome. They questioned the fairness of the process. They accused the leadership of ignoring the will of the chamber. And that was when the walkout began. One after another, opposition lawmakers rose and left the chamber. It was not quiet. It was not polite. It was deliberate. A clear act of protest. A way to show that they would not be part of what they see as a flawed decision. Outside the chamber, the tension did not drop. It followed them. And it grew louder. During a press conference shortly after, the situation escalated again. House of Representatives boils over results transmission. Opposition lawmakers chant APC Ole during press conference. The chant was sharp, direct, emotional. It showed the level of frustration. It showed how deep the disagreement has become. Because now, this is no longer just a debate inside the chamber. It has moved into the public space. And Nigerians are watching closely. The opposition is standing firm on one point. Electronic transmission only.
No misture. No compre mais.
They believe anything else creates doubt. And in a country where election credibility has been questioned before, doubt is dangerous. But those on the other side are also standing firm. They believe flexibility is necessary. They believe Nigeria's realities must be considered. And so, the gap between both sides continues to widen. This is why today's events matter. Because what happened inside the House of Representatives is not just another disagreement. It is a sign. A sign that the battle over how Nigeria conducts its elections is far from settled. And with every raised voice, every protest, and every walkout, the stakes keep getting higher. Let's be clear. This is no longer just a debate about process inside the House of Representatives. It is now a national concern. What lawmakers are arguing about today will shape how future elections are conducted across Nigeria. At the center of the disagreement is one key question. Should Nigeria rely fully on electronic transmission of results, or should it allow a combination of electronic and manual systems? For the opposition, the answer is simple. Electronic transmission only. They argue that once results leave the polling unit, they must go straight into a secure electronic system without any human interference in between. They believe this reduces the chances of tampering, delays, and confusion. According to them, the moment manual handling is introduced, it creates space for doubt. And that doubt, they say, is exactly what Nigeria cannot afford at this point. Their position is also shaped by recent electoral experiences. After the last general elections, concerns were raised by different groups about transparency and consistency in the results process. Questions were asked. Explanations were demanded. And trust, in some areas, was weakened. Figures like Peter Obi have continued to speak about the need for a system that is clear, verifiable, and trusted by the public. That message has found support among many Nigerians, especially young voters who want a process they can believe in. For them, electronic transmission represents progress. It represents speed. It represents accountability. But not everyone shares that view. Some lawmakers insist that Nigeria's current infrastructure cannot support a fully electronic system across all regions. They point to rural areas where network coverage is weak or unstable. They raise concerns about technical failures, power supply issues, and the risk of system breakdown on election day. From their perspective, removing manual transmission completely could create a different kind of problem. A situation where results cannot be transmitted at all due to technical issues. They argue that a hybrid system provides a safeguard. If one method fails, the other can serve as backup. They describe it as a practical solution for a complex country. However, that argument has not convinced the opposition. Instead, it has increased suspicion. Because for them, the issue is not just about what could go wrong with technology. It is about what could go wrong with people. They argue that manual processes have been the source of past controversies. They believe that allowing both systems creates a gap where manipulation can occur without immediate detection. And once public confidence is lost, restoring it becomes very difficult. This is why the debate has become so intense. It is not just technical. It is deeply political. It touches on power, control, and credibility. Outside the National Assembly, reactions have also started building. Civil society groups are beginning to speak. Political observers are analyzing every move. And citizens are following closely, especially as discussions around future elections continue to grow. There is also increasing attention on institutions like the Independent National Electoral Commission, which will ultimately be responsible for implementing whatever decision is made. The expectations are high. The scrutiny is intense. And the pressure is rising. At the same time, the broader political environment cannot be ignored. With future elections already on the horizon, every decision made now is being viewed through a political lens. Every action is being interpreted. Every statement is being remembered. Even leaders like Bola Ahmed Tinubu are under increasing public attention, as Nigerians look to see how the government will respond to concerns about electoral credibility. Because for many citizens, this issue goes beyond lawmakers arguing in a chamber. It is about whether their votes will truly count. It is about whether the system can be trusted. And it is about whether Nigeria is moving forward or repeating old patterns. As the debate continues, one thing is clear. There is no middle ground yet. Both sides remain firm. Both sides believe they are right. And both sides understand what is at stake. Because in the end, this is not just about transmission methods. It is about the foundation of Nigeria's democracy. And right now, that foundation is being tested. Now the focus has shifted from argument to consequence. What happened inside the House of Representatives is no longer just a disagreement among lawmakers. It is now a signal to the entire country. Because decisions like this do not stay inside the chamber. They move outward. They affect institutions, political parties, and most importantly, the Nigerian voter. At the heart of this situation is one simple reality. Elections are only as strong as the trust people have in them. Once that trust begins to shake, the entire system feels the impact.
Voter turnou drop.
Confidence weakens. And the legitimacy of results begins to face questions. That is why this debate over results transmission is so important. It goes beyond process. It goes to the core of democratic belief. Many Nigerians are now paying closer attention. Not just to what is being said, but to how decisions are being made. The events at the National Assembly, including the disputed voice vote and the walkout, have raised fresh concerns about fairness and transparency within the lawmaking process itself. For some observers, the issue is not only about the final decision. It is also about the method used to reach that decision. They ask whether all voices were properly counted. They question whether the process reflected the true position of the chamber. And those questions matter. Because if lawmakers are seen as divided and the process appears contested, it sends a message to the public. A message that agreement is fragile. A message that consensus is missing. And that perception can influence how citizens view future electoral decisions. At the same time, attention is turning toward implementation. If the law eventually supports a combination of electronic and manual transmission, then agencies like the Independent National Electoral Commission will carry the responsibility of making it work. That responsibility is not small. It involves logistics, technology, training, and coordination across thousands of polling units. It also involves public communication, because Nigerians will need clear explanations of how their votes are recorded, transmitted, and counted. Without that clarity, confusion can grow. And confusion, in an election environment, often leads to suspicion. On the political front, the implications are already unfolding. Parties are beginning to adjust their strategies. They are studying the possible outcomes of this decision. They are preparing for scenarios that could affect how results are managed and challenged. For opposition groups, this moment is being framed as a test of commitment to electoral reform. They are positioning themselves as defenders of transparency. They are calling for systems that leave little room for doubt. And they are using recent events to strengthen that message. For the ruling side, the focus remains on practicality and flexibility. Supporters argue that Nigeria must adopt solutions that reflect its current realities. They maintain that a mixed system can provide stability in a country with diverse challenges. But beyond party lines, the public response is becoming more visible. Conversations are growing across different platforms. Citizens are asking questions. They are comparing past elections with present proposals. They are expressing concerns about credibility, access, and fairness. Names like Peter Obi continue to appear in public discussions, especially among those advocating for stronger transparency measures. At the same time, leadership at the highest level is under observation. Figures such as Bola Ahmed Tinubu are expected to show direction and reassurance as the country navigates this sensitive issue. Because in moments like this, silence can be interpreted in many ways, and clear communication becomes critical. There is also a broader implication that cannot be ignored. Nigeria's democratic image. How the country handles electoral processes does not only affect internal stability. It also shapes how Nigeria is viewed internationally. Credible elections strengthen reputation. Contested processes raise concerns. So the outcome of this debate carries weight beyond national borders. As the situation develops, one thing remains certain. This is not the end of the conversation. It is the beginning of a larger national debate. A debate about systems. A debate about trust. And a debate about the future direction of Nigeria's democracy. Because once a framework for elections is established, it defines the rules for everyone. For candidates. For parties. And for voters. And if those rules are not widely accepted as fair, the consequences can last for years. Right now, Nigeria stands at a critical point. The choices made in this period will influence not just the next election, but the long-term confidence in the electoral system. And for millions of Nigerians, the expectation is simple. A process that is clear. A system that is trusted. And an outcome that reflects the true will of the people. Anything less than that will continue to raise questions. And those questions will not fade easily.